been living by myself for 6 years now, so I thought that in this video I would share some of the pros and cons of living by yourself. This first con really depends on who your roommate is, but it can be a bit of a headache to split costs with your roommates. And then some people get really particular and they start labeling all the food they have in the fridge and in the pantry. Like I've been to friends' houses where the roommate will label things like, oh, these are my granola bars, or this is my lo-fi yogurt, so nobody else touch it. And I just think for me that will kind of be overwhelming at some point. Like, I would just think that it probably will be easier just to say whatever's in the fridge is fair game for anyone, but I get that if you're on a special diet and you're paying a lot of money for it, then you wouldn't want to open up the fridge and find that all the food you can eat is somehow gone. But that really depends on who you have for a roommate, because some people like me don't really care about that too much. But then, there's other people that have those special conditions, or they just feel more uptight about that, where they like to distinguish that they are an individual person with their own property, and that they just happen to be sharing a space with however many people. So my second con is that there's a lot of stuff that you have to take care of all by yourself, and there's no one that will help you. So you're gonna have to take out the trash and do the dishes and wash the laundry and clean the rest of the house all by yourself. There's no one that's gonna do any part of that. Even if you live in a small space, that can end up taking up quite a bit of your time, so it's just nice to have one or two extra people who will help you with that. And like for me personally, I'm disabled, so regular housework takes me even longer to do. I just got a house cleaner last month, and it's so nice to be able to not worry about having to clean things on top of what I already have planned to do. This last con is probably the worst for me, but only because I have generalized anxiety disorder. If you don't, this probably won't bother you so much, but for me, it can be really hard to handle sometimes. So every time there's a tiny noise in the house, like the floorboards are just expanding or something, I just get really freaked out, and I start imagining like there's like a serial killer outside and they're gonna come in and murder me. And yeah, I get really freaked out by the small noises, and it's kind of embarrassing, but that's just something with general anxiety. This next one is kind of a pro and a con for me. And I have social anxiety, so obviously being social makes me a bit nervous, and I try and avoid it. But at the same time, I know that just socializing for even a few minutes a day would help a lot with my social skills, and it would help a lot to make me feel more comfortable in socializing with people I don't know so well. Because after living with someone for a while, you get pretty comfortable with them. But with strangers, you would feel a lot more nervous about doing those things. So I just think that socializing every day would probably help me out a lot in that regard. My first pro is that you can look or dress however you want. I usually like to go around my house in my pajamas and slippers. If you have a roommate, this may not matter so much because after a while you'll probably feel pretty comfortable to do whatever you want around them. But when I have visitors over, I just feel like I have to get all dressed up and do my hair and everything, even though I'm not even leaving the house. But if your roommate has guests over, then you might feel the need to make yourself look at least somewhat presentable. It's not that big of a deal, but I think that is something that's a little nice to have. My second pro is that there isn't anyone else's stuff lying around. So, like, if your roommate is really into painting, then maybe they would have all their painting equipment all throughout the house, and that could sometimes get a bit annoying. But that also depends on if they're a pretty messy person or not. Also, when you live by yourself, you don't have to worry about the other person's schedule. Like, maybe they're having friends over for a movie and you just wanna have a quiet night in or something. And the reverse, like if you wanted to have friends over and they just wanna Netflix and chill, then those can be kind of conflicting at times. I just think that for me, this last pro outweighs everything by a ton. So, and that is when you live by yourself, you're able to spend hours alone doing whatever you want to do. When I go to a family's house or I'm visiting someone or someone is visiting me, I feel obligated to spend a lot of time with them because I don't see them very often. But really, I need to be able to have several hours of the day just to spend by myself. Also, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but I've never had a roommate before. Unless you count the times when I was real little and I lived with my family, but that's a different thing. So I can't accurately say what the pros and cons of each are, since I've really only experienced one of them. And some people have to live with roommates because they just can't afford to live by themselves. But if you're debating whether or not you should get a roommate, then I hope this video was maybe helpful in some way.